What up, Rod?
Thanks for having me on again. Thanks, guys.
Oh wait,
Good segment you had there. You almost
Rod,
let
muted.
her.
You're muted,
we
brother.
think.
There he is. There he is.
All
What's
right.
it-
All right.
There
Thanks
you
for having
go.
me on. It's a pleasure to be back. I just wanted to see Pilar's eyelashes just flow.
I'm
I
telling you,
know.
they're gonna flop right off. I have to be very careful not to. If anybody makes me cry again, it's done for sure. If anybody makes me laugh
It'll be
really
Maz.
hard and I squeeze my eyes really hard, they're off.
I made her
They're
cry
off.
because I played the Vanessa Bryant cut from the other night, and then I played Jalen Rose talking to Chris Webber, and I broke her. I busted her.
There you go. It's the sentimental side that we all need to see every once in a while.
What did you
Right.
think, Rod? What did you think about the induction ceremony? Obviously, Kobe Bryant going in, Tim Duncan, the big thing, but our
KG.
guy Ben Wallace
Getting announced for next year.
getting a shot in, Chris Webber. What was your, as a basketball guy, about the decision by the Basketball Hall of Fame in their selections?
Yeah, I knew the Kobe thing was going to be so emotional for so many people because he's a worldwide celebrity and superstar. But locally, looking at Ben Wallace and Chris Webber, it was just sort of what took this so long. That Chris Webber was 8 years, I think, before he actually got in, and for Ben Wallace, it was, what are we talking about? I can see the discussion about him not being an offensive player, but he's the epitome of what a defensive player is, and he was so critical to that championship team. And I sort of fear that we've gotten to the point that we're going to measure everything by how many championships somebody has, and they're not worthy of the Hall of Fame unless they have X number of championships. And that's a shame because we got so many talented players who just don't fit that mold necessarily, but they've been excellent players during their time.
I mean, that 2004 Piston team, to me, you could put all the freaking five of them in. As far as I'm concerned, I think they're all worthy.
Yeah, I mean, it's that team, and we talked about before where Isaiah and the Bad Boys are sort of lost in history a little bit, but that team too just showed that before that they didn't have all stars on that team. Those guys just came together, and it was catching lightning in a bottle and doing something right at the right time. But it gets their jersey retired. You don't have to retire every, but in the Hall of Fame, there's certain people who got it automatically, and you think for 10 or 15 seconds, you should know immediately. This isn't a hard discussion about some of these guys going in.
We're talking to Rod Beard, Pistons beat writer, Detroit News. The Pistons won 20 games this year, coming off this season.
Good games, though. They were good
But I was
wins.
just talking
Big
about it
wins.
for a team that's set themselves up for a possibility of a first three draft choice in the way it is, but the effort that they had. How do you look at this team, not only of from the big picture of what happened this year and what Dwayne Casey and Troy Weaver were able to do, and going into the summer, what does this mean for guys like Sadiq Bey and Jeremy Grant and what they need to do?
Yeah, we just wrapped up the season with Troy Weaver and Dwayne Casey, and that was the big sort of takeaway is that this was better than they thought it was going to be. And when you looked at last summer, did you think they would be in this same spot? Well, no, because they had Blake Griffin and completely remade this roster and made this into a team that people have. And you couldn't have said that over the past probably decade or so, that these draft picks would turn into what they did and the roster would have the outlook that it does right now. And I think fans and experts and everybody's really looking forward to what this draft is going to hold and what the summer is going to hold. And this could very well be a playoff team next year, not just a play-in team, but a playoff team. The right pick and they get the right development from their guys.
Well, today I noticed in your little tankathon virtual that they're picking second now, and you got the Timberwolves picking first. How the hell did they get the first pick?
It's just all random in the combinations and the way that it comes up, but it shows you everybody thinks the Pistons are going to drop to six. That's the lowest that they can fall. And the pickings are not as good there. But if they end up and they stay in the 1 or 2 spot and 3, you can see where they could very easily get a piece that they need to really push them into that playoff territory for next year. And again, there's significant optimism about that. There's not that much for any of the other teams in town, but you can see where the Pistons, with that right piece, can be one of those teams that people are fearful of next year.
All right, so we got Orlando, we got Houston, and we got us, the Pistons, all with 14%. Why so? First of all, how is it so low for those 3 teams? First of all, shouldn't it be higher?
No, well, that's what they did to discourage the true tanking, the Sixers level tanking of giving that team with the worst record, whatever it was, a 50 or 60% chance, or in previous years, like in the NFL, where if you got the There is no discussion about it. That just is what it is. So they had to spread all of that out so that the teams in that other range get a certain percentage, an equal percentage to make that work out. So even though it's the number 14 team, they've got a small percentage, and that takes away from all of that. So they just smoothed it out and made it where those bottom 3 teams get an equal 14% chance. But when you look at the numbers, it's just as easy that the Pistons could be in that 6th spot or to drop as it is at the same spot. So it discourages the really bad tanking, but it just benefits the teams that have losing records and still give them a chance to get that first pick. But that's the way the math works out.
Rod Beard joins us, Detroit News, Pistons Beat. You read them all the time. And tonight starts a new event for the NBA. It's the play-in events. You got the 7 against the 8. You got the 9 versus the 10. The East goes tonight. So you got Charlotte, Indiana, and then Washington, Boston. And then tomorrow you got San Antonio, Memphis in the West. And the one everyone wants to see, it should be the NBA Final. Only kidding. Golden State and the Lakers. Tell me how it works. Who wins? Who plays who next? And 1 game, 2 games? How does it work, Rod?
Yeah, if the draft wasn't confusing enough,
right.
you know what? That's why I was giving you the easy question
Explain
first.
this to me,
Stick
Ricky.
around.
Thank you.
But I got to write this down because I can't follow it.
Write this down.
No, we need a visual aid for all of this, and this is almost like Double Dare, where you need the physical challenge if you don't get it right. The 7 plays the 8. The winner of that game is the 7.
Okay.
The loser game plays the winner of 9 and 10. So the winner of 9 and 10 plays the 8 to see who's the 8. The loser in 9 and 10 is out.
Okay.
So if you're 7 and 8, Maz, am I correct?
Go
the
ahead.
Golden State Lakers are 7 and 8.
Correct.
So if Golden State beats the Lakers are still in it. They would play the winner of the 9 and 10 teams. So 7 and 8, you're guaranteed 2 games minimum. But
correct.
Okay.
Then you would play the 1 seed.
If you're the 8, you have to lose twice. That's the key.
Or the 7 or okay. Still less confusing, but makes a little bit more sense. Now, what about who do you like because of this? Is there somebody that is limping in or limping out? Like I look at you talk about tank, and I see what the Clippers did over the weekend, and they sure didn't want to play the Lakers. That tells right, like that's sort of they lost. Who they lose to? The 2 couple.
OKC and Cleveland. I mean, that's teams who are not really trying to win. So you have to do something really special to lose 2 of those games. But you like somebody like Golden State that's getting hot at the right time. And if they can beat the Lakers and the Lakers somehow lose twice and they're out of this thing before the real playoffs get started, the NBA is not going to be too happy about this. But this is their own creation. This is the monster they made to say, we want to create more interest and get more cities intrigued and interested in what we're doing. And I don't hate it. But again, it's this 7, 8, 9, 10. It's just like the NCAA tournament, 68 teams instead of the 64.
All right, let's say the Lakers beat Golden State tomorrow. Tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be Wednesday. Sorry. So the Lakers would then be the 7 seed. They would play the 2. Who's the 2 right now in the West?
Phoenix.
So Phoenix, Lakers.
Lakers, Chris Paul, LBJ. You got some drama either way you go.
Wow. And then if the Golden State Warriors make the 8 spot, they would get who? The 1.
The 1 is Utah.
So they get Utah. I think they could beat Utah.
The West is going to be so intriguing to see how all of this stuff plays out. The East, a little bit less. I mean, you don't feel as good about those 7, 8 seeds there.
No.
But the West, as always, as we've seen the past few years, the West is going to be so intriguing the way these top teams are going to have tough first-round matchups. And I guess that's sort of the good thing about that is that it enables a team that's starting to play well toward the end of the season to work their way in this and maybe get on a little run here.
With how crazy it all is, how do you think it's going to play out?
I think it's just going to be simple. If LeBron and Anthony Davis are back, there's nobody that's beating them. I mean, not in a series if we're talking about that. And that's where the danger is for them is that they could have a bad night and lose in the 7-8, and then who knows what happens. And like LeBron twisted his ankle last night. So they could lose in the 7-8, and then they could lose somehow in the 9-10. And again, for general fan interest, that's not as good. But for people like Maz, then
More importantly, how are the Knicks and Nets going to do in the East?
It doesn't matter. The Knicks are in the playoffs, and in true New York fashion, in true New York fashion, the 4 seed is not good enough for them when the expectations were they were going to have the 4th pick in the draft and be the 4th worst team. Expectations are always to the roof, but it's a good season for them with Derrick Rose, and we've seen what Julius Randle has done. Probably the most improved player in the NBA this year. That New York Knicks fans should just be happy with where they are and not have ridiculous expectations. But of course they will, because New York.
Did you see the play last night that the Brooklyn Globetrotters threw up against the Cavaliers?
Who threw that first pass?
Blake
Number
Griffin.
2, Blake Griffin.
Blake
Griffin. Griffin, who didn't have anything left in the tank.
He is he's reinvigorated. I want to show the play, and I think Rod could see it if I'm not mistaken. Right, Easy? Can Rod see it if we play it? Well, no, let's play it anyway. The hell with Rod. Play the damn thing.
Let us know if you can see it at the end, Rod.
Kevin Durant, the rack attack.
We want to see the beginning.
And one of the highlights of the Dotson loses it, walking the tightrope.
Here's Blake.
Oh,
Oh.
Razzle dazzle.
Oh.
Kevin Durant, the rack attack. And one of the highlights.
The first pass was the impressive part.
Was.
How
The whole
about
thing
that?
was impressive.
Were you able to see it?
Yeah, I was able to see it. And
good.
the thing about Blake's pass is that it was short. He was trying to get the lead man all the way down. So it was like a choose your own adventure. Is where's the ball going?
It's like those stories.
He just yelled
there.
go. He yelled go.
Yeah.
That's what he yelled. There we go.
Yeah, and see how short that ball
Yes.
is? It's going to Kyrie.
Yes.
It's not where he wanted it to go, but it ended up being good for him. And right here, why is he passing up this layup so that he can get an alley-oop to Durant? I mean, that was my first thing is you've got a clear layup and you want to make the razzle-dazzle play. You better be lucky the playoffs already clinched it.
That's Mike James. That's Mike James. They busted his balls
Hold
after
on
that.
a sec. Do you see it was 65? They were up 10 and it was under 20 seconds left. So I can't blame a guy because the game this is sort of out of reach here. It's sort of like a guy shooting for the empty net in hockey from his side of the red line when you're up 2 goals.
D-Mac, you're not passing up an empty net to give somebody else an assist. I don't care what the situation is. You're never doing that.
No, because see this.
Yeah, he
look
is.
at it from this way, right? When you blatantly do something like that in that sort of game, everybody shines spotlight on you, right? Who are we talking about now? The guy who dished it, not
Mike
Durant
James.
that dunged it.
Yeah.
right.
He
So-
gave it to Durant. He gave
It all
it to
depends.
the boss.
If that was a playoff game, absolutely
Yeah.
not. You can't take the chance. You don't see that in the playoffs. You see that in the last game of the.
How
or
bad did the
regular season.
Cavaliers fall? How do they feel? The Cavs.
The Cavs, I think, ended up like 5th or 6th. I mean, it was just crazy the way the weekend worked out. Cavs are 4th. They were tied for 4th with OKC because OKC won. So the weekend just kind of changed the whole standings and the way those percentages are going to work out because the Cavs won, OKC won, Minnesota won. A lot of teams that you thought was just were going to lose out this weekend ended up winning a game somewhere there.
How about the Heat? I was nervous at the beginning of the game. I saw you right. The 8 guys from the Heat were out. And I'm like, maybe we're going to win this damn game by accident.
Nah, I don't think so. I mean, it's one of those games where you could see their starting lineup, and with Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero, you sort of, okay, that's enough. They're going to be able to win just with that. And once they got the lead, the Pistons just kind of pulled off the pedal a little bit because young guys, that's just the way that goes.
All right, give me your NBA final right now and who's going to win it.
I will say, it hurts me to say, but I'm going to say Nets and Phoenix. I think Phoenix is going to work their way through this.
Really?
Wow.
I like the leadership that Chris Paul brings, and Devin Booker is going to be able to at a different level for them. They don't have the playoff experience as a whole, but I think they're going to surprise some people with the way they play.
I like the Clippers, man, because no one is talking about them. Last year they had the weight of the world on them. This year they're sneaky.
I said the Clippers last year, and you see what I got, a handful of nothing.
But that was last year. They had a lot of pressure on them.
I think that they're in a spot where they want to be, that the pressure is not on them. I think you're right there. But just the path that they're going to have to go through, I think Phoenix just really has a lot on their side. And the bubble last year where they finished and got some confidence under their wings going into this season, I think is really going to propel them. And they've got a deep bench also. They've got some players that not a lot of people have heard of, but they've been very, very solid all year.
I got Clippers and Nets, and somebody has to win for the first time. Two of the worst franchises in sports history. I got the Nets winning it all this year.
I have the Nets winning it all also. I don't think you can deny KD once you get to the playoffs and just the will that he's going to have. And Kyrie, same sort of way, and Hart. I mean, that's just an embarrassment of riches that they've got there.
Forgot Blake.
And Blake.
Yeah, and Blake. And Blake as well.
He said,
All right, Rod. We're going to check with you,
yeah.
man. We're going to check back with you. Thanks for keeping us posted, man, and teaching us the ins and outs of the play-in.
And I need a telestrator next time.
I
So we
feel
can
like
do
I
all
went
this.
to
Sure.
calculus class.
Please do.
Yeah,
Please
that's
do.
No, I
exactly
never
what it
went to
feels like.
calculus class, but I feel
You-
like
you-
that was calculus class.
You passed with flying colors, D-Mac. You're
Thank
good.
you, buddy. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Rod.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it, guys. Thank you.
All right, man. Rod Beard,
Thanks,
Detroit
Rod.
News, Pistons beat writer, NBA guru.
He's so great.
It's going to be fun.
I love having
It
him
is. He's
on. Make sure you
terrific.
guys are following him on his social media. He is an absolute great follow. All right, guys. When we come back.